All right, beautiful, beautiful people. Welcome to another live stream. We're here at about 2 p.m. my time. Hope you're all doing fantastic. I'm going to take just a second here, guys, send out some quick notifications. You know how I feel about that notification bell. So we're going to send out some quick notifications. We're going to see who gets first in chat today. Let's see. Wait, where did I? There we go. All right. All right, all right. Okay, let's get comments pulled up. Hope you're all doing well today, man. Let's see here. All right. Ivan's going to get first in chat. What's up, Ivan? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. My guy, welcome. Got to clear my throat a little bit. Welcome, Ivan, first in chat. How you doing, dude? Welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing fantastic. Let's see here. Alright, I think we're about good to go on my end. We'll just give it a little bit, let some people pile in here, and then we'll get started. Today we're going to be talking about anxiety, staying out of it, right? This is one way to put it. It's one of my favorite ways to put it, actually. So we're going to do a whole stream dedicated to the topic of staying out of it. As you guys know, my objective here on the channel is always to put this advice as simple and straightforward as I possibly can. So this is just another way to do that. This is just another way to do that, staying out of it. Not bad. I'm glad you're doing good, Ivan. Hopefully the notification bell actually doesn't give us any problems today. That would be nice. Chase already with a $10 tip. Chase, thank you for the $10 tip, dude. I know there's not many people in here right now. We just got started, but if you are in here, please drop some purple hearts for Chase. Thank you, Chase. We're already at 10 on our tip goal today. We are 3 days away, guys, from a 200 day streak. So thank you so much, Chase, for that. I appreciate you. Thank you, Chase. All right, guys. Olivia, we got Olivia in the chat. Hello, Olivia. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing great. Welcome. Hope you're having a wonderful day. How are you doing? Share, thank you for the purple hearts. Appreciate it. Thank you again, Chase, for the $10 tip. Appreciate you already. We're not even 2 minutes into this thing. Appreciate it. Thank you. Trish, hello. Welcome. Fourth in chat. What's up, Trish? All right. All right, just another minute or two, guys, and we'll go ahead and get this one started. So, anxiety, staying out of it. As you guys know, my goal here on the channel is to put this stuff as simple and as straightforward as possible. So, today is just another way to do that, another way to try to explain it, to make it make sense to as many people as possible. What is your goal? What is your objective when it comes to recovery, when it comes to healing, when it comes to rewiring your brain, right? What is your goal? Staying out of it. That's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm good. Thank you. How are you, Wonder Bro? I'm good. Thank you, Olivia. Appreciate you asking. I'm glad you're doing good. Hello, just coming in. What's up, Ophelia? Welcome. You're just in time. We're getting ready to get started in just a second here. Let's see. I'll go ahead and get my music ready for post-stream. All right. I think we've got quite a few people in here, so we can go ahead and get this one going. Let's go ahead and get started, guys. So, anxiety, staying out of it. Let's go take a few deep breaths before we get into this rant here today. By the way, guys, we are so close to 11K subs. Thank you so much for that. So, anxiety, staying out of it. As you know, we try to put things as crystal clear as we possibly can here today. And if I had to sit here, right here in this spot, and come up with the words to speak to sum up what recovery is. If somebody asked me, hey, Wonder Bro, out of all the streams that you've ever done, out of all the videos that you've ever done, and all the things that you've ever written about anxiety, if you had to sum it up in one go-to statement, Wonder Bro, how would you sum it up? Okay, if somebody asked me that question, it would take me a minute. I'd think about it, but I would probably land on these words: staying out of it. Stay out of it, right? Here's the thing when it comes to the false alarms of anxiety, right? They're really intense. They can be really intense, right, chat? And it doesn't matter what they're over, right? Maybe you're triggered over a person or a situation or a thought, a really sticky thought, and all of a sudden the amygdala decides, hey, I want to go stage 5, code 5, red alarm, right? When that happens, they can be pretty intense, right? Who can agree with that? I'm sure you can all agree with that. Show of hands, who can agree with that? Here's the thing, right? When you feel a feeling that can be as intense as anxiety is, right? The false alarm of anxiety. When you feel a feeling that can be as intense as that is, as a human being, you tend to want to say to yourself and say to the feelings, oh man, this is alarming. I've got to do something about this, right? Right? That's the mistake. That's how everybody ended up on this channel. That's how everybody ended up with a sensitized nervous system. That is how everybody ended up with a brain that is quite literally wired to be anxious. That is how everybody ended up in the state that they're in. And I need you to listen to this because it's so, so crucial. You ended up in the boat that you're in today, the situation that you're in today, because you didn't know any better. And that intense alarm of anxiety was so intense, and continues to be at times, that as a human being, it's just in your nature as a human being to say, oh my God, I need to do something about this. So what happens is the amygdala says, okay, 5-star red alert over, let's say, I don't know, let's give an example. This could be over anything, right? Keep that in mind, but let's give an example. Amygdala says 5-star red alert over a thought. And those feelings come so intensely because it is fight or flight. It's there to save your life. They need to be intense. That's their job, right? They come so intensely that as a human being, you get really shaken up and you start to freak yourself out. You start to say things like, wow, I really need to do something about this because if I don't do something about this, something bad's going to happen. This is going to turn into something bad. And then what happens is you start to fight with that thought. Oh, what can I do about that? How can I make that go away? What can I do to avoid that bad thing that my mind is suggesting, And then you get into what we call obsession, right? And now again, this can apply to anything that triggers you, not just a thought. But then you get into obsession, and then what happens is people get into quite literally a hamster ball. Or a hamster wheel, rather, is a better way to put it. They're going in circles with the obsession because it feels so intense they need to do something about it because they want to feel better. So they're going round and round and round in circles with obsession, which is mental worry, mental negativity, mental problem solving, mental figuring out, mental fighting. Right? And you're doing this because you're a human being. And as a human being, you want to help yourself, which is understandable. The only problem is the more that you do this, right? The more that you do this, the more you stress the amygdala out. So you're doing a bunch of worry because you feel so intensely, and the more you do the worry, the more you kind of have these bad mental pictures in your head and you're in negativity, and the amygdala is kind of like, okay, you're stressing me out, and then because the amygdala is stressed out, it wants to give you more symptoms, and it's a back and forth, right? That's quite literally what it is. It's going in circles. So for starters, I want to say, I understand you're a human being, and you just want to help yourself because you don't feel good, right? That's what it comes down to. That's what all this comes down to. You're a human being and you just want to help yourself because you don't feel well. But you need to listen to the streams and understand that that's not how you get to the place of feeling well when it comes to the amygdala. You're playing the game the wrong way, right? You're playing the game the wrong way. So it's understandable why you add this fight and this mental worry and negativity. That's all understandable, right? You want to help yourself. I get it. It's intense. But you're playing the game the wrong way. You're making it worse. So as you do more negativity and as you do more worry, the brain kind of catches on to this. It notices this and it says, oh my gosh, you're in danger. Let me give you more of the symptoms that you're worried about, right? It doesn't know any better. So you're playing the game the wrong way. Now, to the point of the stream, if I had to sum up what recovery is and what you need to do, like if somebody said you can only pick one thing, forget the 2 keys. You can only pick one thing, Wonder Bro. Like I got a gun to your head, one thing that you can tell your viewers. I would tell my viewers this: stay out of it. Right? Stay out of it. Now let me elaborate on that. We're not just going to say stay out of it and leave it at that. Let me elaborate on that a bit. So staying out of it is basically using your knowledge to your advantage. That's what staying out of it is. Now during the early stages of my recovery, I overcomplicated every little thing, right? I overcomplicated every little thing. It was negative coping methods, compulsions, not living my life, and just obsessing 24 hours a day, right? And I wish somebody back then would have told me, hey, just stay out of it. Now, hearing those words, it's easier said than done, right? I get it. And what's going to lead you to staying out of it? What's going to lead you to staying out of it is what you tell yourself, and that's why I say knowledge is power, right? That's why I say knowledge is power. So let's say you're sitting there minding your own business. You guys know I absolutely love examples. Let's say you're sitting there minding your own business, or you just woke up, right? A lot of people deal with strong anxiety in the morning. and you just feel awful, right? You just feel intense. The amygdala has decided, hey, we're gonna sound a five-star alarm today, right? Over this, that, or whatever it's over is irrelevant. If you were truly staying out of it, you would tell yourself something like, you know what? And you might have to repeat this to yourself. Here's something that people miss. They think they can just say it once and then all of a sudden they've officially stayed out of it. You might have to repeat this to yourself because the alarm is so persuading, right? Who can agree with that? Show of hands in chat. It's very persuading. It persuades you to sort of get involved with how intense it can be at times. So you might have to repeat this to yourself, but you would say something to yourself like, you know what? Just going to stay out of it. There's nothing I need to do about it. False alarm, right? That's called the accepting inner voice. That is called using the knowledge of the cycle to your advantage. So instead of trying, do you see the difference there? Instead of trying to say, okay, this thought is triggering me, so let me figure this thought out, which you're not going to win that battle, right? I'm here to tell you it just gasses the whole thing up. Instead of saying that, instead of trying to say, oh, well, the thought is the problem. The thought is, my amygdala is triggered over this thought, so I need to take care of the thought, right? Which is a losing battle. It's a losing battle. So instead of saying that, you use the knowledge to your advantage and you say something like, hey, I don't need to figure anything out. The amygdala just sounded a false alarm. If I stay out of it, it'll learn. And then this thought won't trigger me. But for now, it's going to trigger me. And for now, I just got to stay out of it. The amygdala will learn as long as I'm not gassing the fire. The amygdala will learn as long as I'm not adding a bunch of gas to the fire and I just let it hang out and I let it play out. If I let myself be triggered and don't add a bunch of negativity to it, which is gas to the fire, my amygdala will learn. That's using the accepting inner voice. Do you see the difference between trying to fight with the specifics of the thoughts or whatever has triggered you and just using the accepting inner voice? Does everybody see the difference there? Trying to fight with the specifics of what triggered you is just fuel to the fire, and the amygdala knows that you're worked up, and the amygdala knows that you're just adding negativity, so it thinks that there must be a real danger. So just use your knowledge to your advantage instead. That's how you stay out of it. So I understand there's like a very strong pull when you're triggered, guys. Like, I get it. Let's say there's a thought that's triggering you. I understand as a human being and as somebody who wants to help themselves and somebody who is new to this whole cycle of anxiety, you're probably thinking to yourself, wow, I really need to do something about that. I understand that that really, really strong, almost gravitational pull is there and that it exists. And I understand that it's pulling you to want to fight. It's pulling you to want to get in your head about it. And you might catch yourself doing it, and that's okay. That's not failure. If you catch yourself fighting, just come back to your accepting inner voice. If you catch yourself fighting, just come back to your accepting inner voice. If you catch yourself fighting, we're going to say it one more third time here, come back to your accepting inner voice. That is the practice. That is how you stay out of it. So staying out of it, how do you stay out of it? Well, it really just comes back to reminding yourself to stay out of it. That's how you stay out of it. And, you know, again, you might have to do that a lot. You might have to do that a lot, right? Because you've got a bad habit. Each and every one of you have got a bad habit of wanting to fight with your thoughts, fight with your feelings, talk to yourself in a very defeated, negative way. We call that worry, right? It's all just the same thing. It's all just different terms for the same thing, which is a fight, right? So I understand you got a bad habit of that, and that's why I say you might have to repeat that accepting inner voice. You might have to build that accepting inner voice, right? And that's going to take some conscious effort, probably a lot of conscious effort if I'm being truthful with you. You're going to have to keep coming back to it, right? So you might notice, for example, that you're sitting there and you're up in your head fighting with this thought, oh God, you know, what can I do to avoid that bad thing happening? And you're problem solving, and of course this is fuel to the fire. The amygdala doesn't like this. You're just stressing the amygdala out while you do all this negative imagery in your head, right? You might notice that you're sitting there doing that, and you got to catch yourself, and you got to say, you know, oh, whoa, I'm doing it again. You know what? I'm just going to stay out of it. I'm just staying out of it. My amygdala is going to learn. This is just a false alarm. You're not going to feel comfortable while doing this. This is another thing that I have to point out quite often, because people think when they start using the accepting inner voice that the amygdala learns in like 2 seconds. It doesn't, right? Unfortunately, it does not. You might not feel comfortable doing this, but you do it anyway. The more you stay out of it and the more you remind yourself to stay out of it, the more the amygdala is going to start to learn. Don't think that because you wake up really anxious and you say to yourself, you know what, just stay out of it. It's a false alarm, which is great. I hope you're doing that, right? I hope you're doing that. And then just getting on living your life, positive behaviors, right? Just doing things you want to do, being productive, getting things done, you know, whatever. Don't think because you've done that one time that the amygdala is going to just instantly, all of a sudden, all these pathways are just gone and the new pathways are formed. You can get rather quick relief, right? You can get rather quick relief with the accepting inner voice. You can take the edge off, right? That's a good analogy. You can take the edge off. But if you want those concrete results, this is a repeated process, right? And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing unless you look at it as a bad thing. All of this comes down to the way that you choose to view it. So don't think that you're the victim of anything. You are the victim of what you tell yourself. That's what you are. Ooh, somebody write that down. Can we have somebody write that down in our anxiety handbook here? You're not the victim of anything. You are the victim of what you tell yourself. So because the anxiety has decided, hey, we're going to do a stage 5 alarm today over a thought, that doesn't make you a victim. Right? You're not the victim of that. You are the victim of what you tell yourself. So if that happens and you tell yourself something like, you know what, I'm just going to stay out of it, it's a false alarm. Maybe you have to repeat that to yourself quite a bit because you're in a bad habit, right, of not doing that. You're in a bad habit of adding negativity. But you just keep repeating yourself, you know what, it's just a false alarm. I'm just going to stay out of it. My amygdala is learning. And you're up and you're making the bed and you're cooking yourself something to eat and you're just enjoying the day the best you can. Congrats, you're on the way. You're on the road to recovery, right? You're on the road to recovery. So you're not a victim of the anxiety. You are a victim of what you tell yourself. So if you wake up and there's a false alarm there and you start telling yourself something like, oh my God, how do I get rid of this thought? What can I do to make sure that thought doesn't happen? I need to problem solve this thought. And you start working yourself up even more. You're a victim of that, right? And what is that? What is that when we say that? You're a victim of the way that you're talking to yourself. So you're not the victim of anxiety. You are the victim of what you tell yourself. Right? And again, I understand it's not a comfortable process. I understand that at times it's not fun. I get that, but it will get easier as you practice. It will get easier as you make this your go-to, as you make the accepting inner voice your default sort of go-to voice, right? All of this will get easier as you go along, okay? I can tell you that. I can't tell you it's going to be the funnest thing in the world, but look at it like this. If you're sitting there thinking to yourself right now, well, I can't keep up this accepting inner voice, it's too much work, it's too hard, I'm not having a good enough time. Well, then ask yourself this question. You're not willing to do that because you say it's too hard and it takes too much work. So are you willing to just not do that and just feel the way that you're feeling on and off and just kind of being at the mercy of your amygdala that's trained the wrong way right now? I don't think you are. Right? I don't think you are. So all of the things that I hear about, I don't want to have to keep using the accepting inner voice. I don't want to get up and live. It's all too hard. Right? Well, I think it's far more hard. I think it's far more hard to keep living the life and the cycle that you are. Right? Can we agree on that? Can we get a show of hands in chat? Can we agree on that? So for everyone who says it's just far too hard to keep using the accepting inner voice, it's far too hard to practice that, it's far too hard to keep reminding myself of the accepting inner voice, it's far too hard to use it, it's far too hard to get up and get started and do things. This is all far too hard. For anyone who says that, I think we can all agree that's what is 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, 40 times, 50 times, 100 times harder than that is continuing to live the way that you're living, right? So I don't see that excuse sort of flying, right? That excuse doesn't really fly here because I think it's 10 times, 100 times harder to just keep living the life that you're currently living and just being in this ridiculous cycle, harmless but yet ridiculous cycle. I think that's much worse. I think that's much worse, much harder to have to do that than it is to have to practice the accepting inner voice, than it is to practice acceptance, right? I think it's much harder the other way around. So that excuse doesn't really fly here, and I don't want you guys to be a victim of that excuse because a lot of people are a victim of that excuse, and the reason that I hate it so much is not because I'm like, oh, you're lazy, and no, it's not that, guys. It's because I don't want to see you continuing to live the way that you're living. There's no point in it. It's unnecessary. You don't have to suffer the way that you're suffering. So if you're willing to say to yourself from this day moving forward, anytime I'm triggered, I'm just going to remind myself, hey, stay out of it. It's just a false alarm. It's okay. It's all good. My brain's learning. And you just keep repeating those words to yourself. You get yourself in that worked up acceptance state, right? Instead of doing the fighting mentally and the negativity and all the negative imagery that you normally do, you're catching that and you're replacing that with the knowledge. You're replacing that with the positive, accepting inner voice, right, instead of the fight. And you're just reminding yourself to stay out of it, and you're riding those waves, as Dr. Claire Weeks called it, floating, right? And you're just floating through your day, getting things done, having fun, trying to be as productive as you can be, and just enjoying the day and taking advantage of the day while you've got that accepting inner voice in there, right? And you're using that accepting inner voice instead of doing all the negative imagery and the negative fighting and all this stuff in your head. You're replacing that with the accepting inner voice, which is just reminding yourself of what's going on, right? And living your life. If you're willing to do that from this day moving forward, right? Anyone who's watching this stream right now, I don't care how long you've been at it. I don't care how long you've suffered. I mean, I do care, but you get my point. I don't care how long you've been going down this road. If you're willing to make it simple and just have an accepting inner voice of stay out of it and live your life and shut down all that negative sort of thinking that you do, right? If you're willing to work on that and give that some conscious effort, you can make improvement and you can recover. Doesn't matter how long you've been at it. Doesn't matter how long you've been suffering. Doesn't matter how long you've been down this road. Doesn't matter. All that's irrelevant. I'm telling you today, as you watch this stream, that if you're willing to finally say, okay, I've got enough knowledge, it's time to get started. I'm telling you today, if you make the decision, hey, I've watched enough streams, I've done enough research, I'm really going to give my true effort at this. Now, you might fail, and you might have ups and downs. You probably will. Let's just say you will, right? That's just being human. But if you're willing to say, you know what, I've come on here and I've learned enough anxiety knowledge to last me and 10 other people for the rest of my life, right? So it's time to finally start using it. And you're willing to start telling yourself things like, you know what, stay out of it when you're anxious. You're willing to start telling yourself these things and then refocusing back on living life. If you're willing to do those two keys, right, which is the accepting inner voice and just refocus back on positive behaviors and living life. So you're always catching the negativity and you're always shutting the negativity down. You're just allowing whatever thoughts or feelings that are there, but you're not adding negativity. You're shutting negativity down. You're replacing that negativity with the accepting inner voice, and you are living your life. If you are willing to do that, anybody and everybody in this chat can not only make progress, but they can heal. So the choice is yours. You can sort of stay in this awkward knowledge phase where you're just gaining endless amounts of knowledge but you're not using it, or you can continue to gain knowledge. It's fine if you want to stop by the streams, but you can start using it too. You can get out of the knowing and venture into the doing, right? So that was the point of today's stream, guys. Stay out of it. That should be your accepting inner voice. That's an example of the accepting inner voice. All right, you guys. Shut that negativity down, man. It's what's keeping you stressed. It's what's keeping the fuel to the fire. It's what's keeping the amygdala from truly learning. All right. I love you guys oh so much. If you did enjoy the topic of today's stream, make sure you leave a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Also, shout out to Chase again, dude, for the $10 tip. That puts us at 10 on the tip goal. We're on 197-day streak, guys. If you enjoyed the stream today, if this message helped you, if it spoke to you in any way, feel free to tip the stream. You can use the link that's in the chat right now from the Nightbot, or close the chat and click the link that's in the description. Love you guys. That was all a mouthful. But I hope it was good. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope somebody takes something away from this stream. And most importantly, I hope they use it, right? Let's get us some music going and hang out with the chat. How is chat doing today? Who do we got in here? Let's have a bit of a roll call. If you're still in here in the stream, let me know. Let's see. We got Pandemonium here. We got Crystal in here. We got Edward. What's up, guys? Winning Mentality. What's up, dude? Let's see. We got Michael in here. What's up, Michael? How are you doing? Hey, Wonder Bro. Hello. How you doing? Let's see. You're not the victim of anything. You are the victim of what you tell yourself. Yes. Yes. I'm glad somebody quoted me on that. That was good. That was real good. Thank you for everything, Wonder Bro. Thank you for supporting Edward. I appreciate you so much, dude. This channel wouldn't be possible without you guys, of course, obviously. Street Fighter, what's up, man? Welcome to the stream. Let's see. Agreed. Thank you, Crystal. Wonder Bro is so good at expressing the two keys in new, unique ways. Very helpful. I appreciate it, dude. Everybody learns using different terms, right? Some terms speak differently to some people than they do others. So really, I just rehash the advice over and over and try to put it new and interesting ways, because there's really an endless amount of ways you can put it, and that's what I try to do. That's what I try to do. Have to go into the hospital for a medical procedure. I'm also concerned about the UK cost of living crisis and heating my home this winter. It's not extremely hard for me to not wait, it is. It's extremely hard for me to not think about these things. So the thing about being worried and continuing to allow yourself to indulge in negative thinking about real life issues is that this is going to sound cliche. It's going to sound obvious, but there is nothing. Your thinking does not. No amount of anxiety changes anything that's going to happen. No amount of thinking changes anything that's going to happen. Now you know that. But in the heat of the moment, you continue to indulge in the negative thinking, which just stresses you out further, which just makes your life worse. Doesn't actually accomplish anything besides making your quality of life even worse, right? Now, you know that when you stop to think about that for a second, but what's going to be the difference maker? The difference maker is going to be whether or not in the moment you have the self-accountability and responsibility to say, you know what, I'm up in my head doing it again. I'm going to remind myself of something accepting. We call that the accepting inner voice. And I'm going to refocus back on life, and I'm going to repeat that process because I'm no longer going to add fuel to the negative habits that make my life miserable. Right? So that's going to be the difference there, and I hope that kind of helps you, and I hope that motivates you a little bit to at least say, you know what, he's right on A, B, C, and I'm going to actually give this a go, right? Let's see. Quotes from Wonder Bro needs its own section in the Discord. Maybe one day when I start coming up with enough quotes. Hey man, if you're enjoying the stream, make sure you leave a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. A tongue lashing. Oh, dude, that was like a 3 on a 10. I've had some pretty heated rants before. It's just from passion, dude. That's all it is. But that was like a 3. That was low on the scale. Truly, that was low on the scale. We'll have to send some links to some of my more heated rants. They've gotten a little out of hand at times. It's all from passion, man. It's all from passion. People suffering unnecessarily due to a bad habit. That, to me, is just horrible. And I want to make a change on that. I want to make a change on that. 100%. I know it's not the easiest thing in the world breaking that habit, right? And I know it takes a lot of conscious energy and effort to repeatedly shut down your own negative thinking, refocus back on living positive behaviors, right? While you replace that sort of negative thinking that you are so used to doing with the accepting inner voice. I know those two things, accepting inner voice and positive behaviors, right? I know they take a lot of conscious energy and effort, right? I get that. But it doesn't feel like it because it's a habit, right? It doesn't feel like it because it's a habit, but it takes a lot of conscious effort to do the negative thinking too, right? It does. It takes a lot of conscious effort to do both, so you might as well put your effort into one that's going to benefit you, right? Hey, what's up, Henry? You've got the tools you need. It's easy to forget that in the moment, right? You've got the tools you need. Who you should be asking for help, and trust me, I'm not saying this to be a dick, but who you should be asking for help is the person in the mirror, right? Because at the end of the day, I know that you know the tools. I know that you know that, right? So the person you should be asking for help is yourself, because at the end of the day, you can have the tools right there in your hands, but whether or not you're actually using them is a completely and totally different story. Right? So if you're indulging in a lot of negative thinking and you don't have the responsibility and the accountability to work on that, then that's a self problem that we need to work on, right? And unfortunately, nobody can do that but you. So to have the tools in your hand and to know that you're not supposed to indulge in too much negative thinking, instead use that accepting inner voice, as Dr. Claire Weeks called it, right? And refocus back on living and not fuel these bad habits. When you have those tools in your hand and you know that you're supposed to be doing that, right? Nobody can make you use those tools. You can have them in your hands, which you do. If you've been here on the streams, you know, you have them in your hands. Nobody can actually make you use them, though. That's the thing. The only person who can do that is you. So the person you got to ask for help from, once you have the tools, of course, is the person in the mirror, right? Takes a lot of accountability and responsibility. This was a huge realization for me, and Paul Allen's book stresses the same thing. Accepting anxiety is not meant to be used as a technique to feel good. Yes, you are correct. It works over time, right? The amygdala catches up and learns on its own time. You're just staying out of it long enough for the amygdala to do that. It'll do the work. You just got to stay out of it and get out of its way, right? So I love that comment. It's an excellent comment. What's up, Remy? Stayed out of the negative thinking, allowed your body to return to normal instead of indulging in bad habits, right? That's one way to put it. I mean, it is harming your nervous system in a way that, not in a way that you're in any sort of danger. It will heal. It will heal itself if you switch that and start to stay out of it, like the point of today's stream says. So, but that is one way that you could put that. The Wonder Bro Richter scale is monitored by scientists everywhere 24/7. It's random, dude. It's totally random. I never know if I'm going to do a stream and it's just going to be super casual and laid back and I'm just going to be relaxed the entire time, or if I'm going to get on a bit of a rant, but it all comes from passion. I can assure you of that. But it's totally random. I never plan these things. Why do we, I guess, indulge in activities that harms us? Habit, a quick fix, or quick gratification, right? It all comes back to habit usually at the end of the day. Habit that you formed for one reason or another. The reason that you formed the habit's sort of irrelevant. It all comes back to a habit, and habits can be broken and habits can be changed, right? Habits can be broken and habits can be changed. I wish it was as easy as you say. Oh, these comments always set me off on a rant. It's not easy, right? But we're not here to talk about whether it's easy or not. You want your life back, yes or no? Right? That's what you got to realize. And I know your eyes probably just rolled back in your head so far that you can see the whites, and you're probably thinking, what a fucking dick. But it's true. We can talk about how hard it is. Or we can talk about how, it's a lot easier said than done. Yeah, sure, we'll sit here and have that conversation for the next 2 hours, but that's not going to bring about change, right? Sure, it's hard. Sure, it's hard to break a bad habit. Sure, it's hard to catch any sort of negative thinking and turn it into the accepting inner voice and to hold yourself accountable for that. Sure, it's hard to stay that mindful and aware, right? Sure, it's hard, right? But we can talk about how hard it is until tomorrow, right? Or we can start to work on it. Right, so a lot of people will say things like, "Oh, it's easier said than done," and I wish it was as easy as you say. It's not easy, right? And people will say things like, "Oh, well, it's not as easy as you say." Well, sure, it's not, right? But that's irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. That's irrelevant. Here's how the game's played, right? Don't shoot the messenger kind of deal. This is a don't shoot the messenger situation. I'm just telling you how the game's played. I'm just telling you how the brain learns. I'm just telling you how the amygdala absorbs information, right? I'm just telling you the two keys because this is how you're going to affect the amygdala. Whether it's hard or not is irrelevant, right? You do what you want to do with the information. You use the information if you want to use the information. Whether it's hard or not is irrelevant, and I recommend that you don't get too stuck on thinking about how hard this is, because that's just more negative thinking and a victim mentality, and it's not going to get you any closer to where you want to be, right? So that's why I say that. Soccer Bob, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Wonder Bro, having a high anxiety day, it physically hurts doing what I'm going to do anyway. The hard thing is, even when I'm doing positive activities, the mental anxieties and compulsions follow me. Yes, they do, and that's where the accepting inner voice goes, right? That's where the accepting inner voice comes into play. Thank you so much again, by the way, for the $10 tip. Let's get some purple hearts in the chat. But yes, you are right. You can do, the positive behaviors, which is great. But you are right that your negative habits, right? Your negative habits and what you tell yourself, which is basically your own negative thinking, that does tend to follow you around, of course, right? So you're correct about that. But that is where the accepting inner voice practice comes into play. So you notice that you're doing the negative thinking. You've got to have the responsibility and the accountability to say, okay, well, I'm going to remind myself, hey, I'm going to stay out of it, false alarm. People have given a lot of examples over the years on the channel here about what the accepting inner voice sounds like, right? But yeah, you do have to make sure that that's coming into play there while you live your life, right? So we've got 2 keys for a reason. You'll hear me say it. Steph, thank you so much for the $10 tip. Let's get some Purple Hearts in the chat for Steph, Luis, Crystal. Thank you for the Purple Hearts. Winning Mentality, thank you for the Purple Hearts. Appreciate and love all of you. Thank you, guys. Soccer Mom, let's see here. Soccer Mom, and who else was it? It was Chase, and it was Steph just now. Thank you guys so much. We're 30 on our typical. Yeah, so we got 2 keys for a reason, Soccer Mom. Remember, while you're using those positive behaviors, let's try to shut down any sort of negativity that you do out of habit. Trish says, I didn't mean it as a bad way. Yeah, I know you didn't. I know you didn't. I want to make that clear. I know you didn't mean it in a bad way, Trish. But that comment always sends me off on a bit of a rant because it's so important that we get out of that mentality, right? So I know you didn't mean it in a bad way. If any of your comments ever kind of sparks me into a little bit of a rant, it's definitely not me being a douchebag. It is me trying to correct that as quickly as we can because we don't want to stay there because it's not getting you any closer to where you want to be. So I get really passionate about those comments because I want you to get out of that mindset as quickly as possible. So I know you didn't mean it in a bad way. No harm, no foul. You're fine, Trish. In fact, I'm glad you made that comment because that's something we need to address. That's something we need to address, so I'm glad you made that comment. I am lost in the comments, guys. We got a lot of comments here. I'm going to try to scroll up. Yeah, I'm way behind on the comments. Thank you guys so much for all the Purple Hearts. Love and gratitude to our tippers. We wouldn't be here without them. Let's see. Probably going to come back to your thinking, Remy. You can be doing something that you want to do, but if for some reason it causes some sort of breakdown, right? It's probably going to be like it's going to come back to what Soccer Mom said in her tip note there, that she's doing things that she wants to do, right? And she's doing positive behaviors, but you do still carry around the bad habit of negative thinking with you while you're doing these positive behaviors. So just like Soccer Mom said in her tip note, that she's making herself do things she wants to do, or productive things that she enjoys, she still carries around the bad habit of negative thinking, and you do. That's why we've got 2 keys for a reason. So if you're doing positive behaviors, great. But if you're still not working on, like, and of course, you know, I can't say this for sure, I'm not inside of anybody's heads, right? But if you're still carrying around the bad habit and the bad habit of negative thinking is not being worked on, then you can do a ton of positive behaviors. You're probably still not going to be making as much progress as you could be making if you remembered that we had 2 keys, right? So that could be a reason. I don't know. Like I said, I can't really crack into the skulls of everybody here, but I can say for certain that if you're using positive behaviors, but there's not much work going on as far as that negative thinking goes, and it's still being indulged in quite a bit, and there's no sort of accepting inner voice there, and it's just negative thinking from dusk till dawn, the positive behaviors will only take you so far, because it's kind of like putting your foot in the door and taking it right back out again, because you're doing positive behaviors, which is great, but at the same time you're still taxing the nervous system with all of the negative thinking that you do. So it's one foot in the door and then it's right back out again. So it's like 50% of the equation. Mikey, what is up, dude? And I know that's annoying because it's like, why can't we just have one main key? That would be so much simpler. And I agree, but unfortunately we can't. We just can't. Gotta have 2. Gotta have 2. Gotta have that inner voice instead of so much negative thinking. You're not going to be perfect at it, but you at least got to work on it, right? And the positive behaviors. All right, let's see. All right. Let's see. Let's see. What is the solution for false, unrealistic expectation of converting $10 into $1,000 in one day? I know it is unrealistic, but why do it in spite of knowing it is a false expectation? So that is an interesting question. What is the solution for false unrealistic expectation of converting 10 into 1,000 in one day? This I got to wrap my head around this one for a second here. That is probably the most interesting, very specific question I've ever received. The solution for false expectations, I guess, is the solution for false expectations, I guess, is the main question here, right? So we'll just do away with all the specifics for a second. The solution for false expectations is to drop them. I would say that's the most simple thing, the most simple way that you could probably put it. I would say that's probably the most simple way that you could put it. The solution for false expectations is to drop false expectations. Don't entertain those. All right, let's see here. You can't be disappointed by a false expectation if you don't have it, right? Now that might sound a little bit depressing. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't go around and at least have, high hopes and at least be optimistic, but do the work without expectations. I like that. That's a good answer. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Sometimes it takes a bit to get information across, but when it does, it's a beautiful thing. I try to word it in a million different ways, right? Because people learn differently. Certain ways that you put things can speak differently to different people. So that's really what the streams are. It's a rehashing of the same advice. I don't want people to get confused and think, oh my God, there's so many streams, I've got to watch every single one of them. No, it's the same advice. It's just rehashed different ways to try to speak differently to different people. Does that make sense? So that is my goal. That is my goal. For example, I've said certain things that some people are like, oh my God, that makes sense. And other people are like, what? I don't get what you're saying. So I try to mix it up a little bit, right? Because different things speak to different people different ways. I like that answer. That way you'll never be disappointed. If you want to be a part of a group, you enjoy all the ladies in the group, but they seem to think they're better than you and they basically reject you. The best way to deal with rejection is to understand that you haven't found your people yet, right? So rejection really comes from people that are not your people to begin with. It's sort of like a thing. If I make myself available to a group of people, let's say I want to be a part of a group that's dedicated to whatever, that's irrelevant. I want to be a part of a group, and that group rejects me. Well, then I was never meant for that group to begin with. Now, you could tell yourself, theoretically, you could tell yourself things like, oh, it's because I'm not good enough, and because this, that, and other, and you could be very negative about that, and people have a tendency to do that. That's part of being a human being, right? That's part of the habit that you're working on here. Or you could simply say to yourself, which this could be an example of applying the accepting inner voice to a real-life situation, right? This is a real-life situation and not just anxiety. You could say to yourself something like, you know what, I haven't found my group yet. I haven't found my group of people. And that's a them problem, not a me problem. And some people might look at that and say, well, you're just being too optimistic there. No, it's true. It's a them problem. It's not a you problem. If a group of people is so stuck up and stubborn and have their noses so far in the air that they're not willing to branch out and be open-minded, that is 100% a them problem and not a you problem. And if you look at it that way, you'll feel much better about it. Without knowing the specifics, it's hard to say, but I would say change the way you view things, because that's really the practice here. Whether we're talking about anxiety or whatever we're talking about, that's really the practice at the end of the day. That's one way that you could word it. It's about changing the way that you view things, which is a choice, right? It comes down to being a personal choice. So I don't even know if I would stress yourself with going as far as trying to figure out who's bad and who's not. Seems too deep. I would just take it at face value and say, you know what, I haven't found my group yet, and that's okay. It's usually a better option not to go too deep into the specifics with these things, because we tend to be very negative when we do that, right? I find that it's better to keep it general, because normally obsession never yields any answers, and it just yields stress. As a human being, we tend to want to overthink everything, though, right? And again, it only yields stress. It doesn't yield any sort of benefits. It'd be different if it actually gave you something. It'd be different if the obsession actually gave you something in return, but all it gives you is panic attacks. So I prefer to keep it short, sweet, and simple when you're correcting your negative thinking with that accepting inner voice, right? That's not to say there isn't a time and place for problem solving, you know, if it's a situation that calls for it, but we could get into those examples all day long, right? There's a time and place for certain amounts of problem solving, but a general rule of thumb is that the problem solving is usually not going to be the go-to answer for a lot of things. Alright, let's see here. Are you eating another granola bar? I wish I had a granola bar right now. Are you, well, hold on just a second. Let me see if I can, is there any way for me to, I don't think there's any way for me to grab those pictures from here. Maybe. Alright, let's see if I can do this real quick. Well, that's way too big. So, here we go. Check it out, you guys. Check it out. It's not done yet. We still need gutters put on, which is going to happen. They're working on it. So it's not completely done yet, but this is the half of the roof that we hit our goal on. Of course, on the other side is still a problem, but we're not worried about that right now. We're just breathing in and taking in this beautiful sight here. Amazing, isn't it? Absolutely amazing. Thank you guys so much. So much. I know we still have to do the other half, but we're, like I said, we're not even concerned, or we're not even thinking about that right now. We're just taking time to take in and breathe in the beautiful sight that is half of it done. So we're not even thinking about the other half right now. I don't even want to think about it right now. I'm just living in the moment right now and taking in and enjoying and loving that half. It's such a relief. So it's not completely finished yet. They've still got to do some stuff to that half, but like the gutters and stuff, but it is getting there, man. It is getting there. All the metal's on, so nice looking roof, Wonder Bro. Thank you, Pandemonium. I appreciate you. Looks great. Thank you, Trish. Thank you, Muhammad. Appreciate you, dude. Thank you, Crystal. But yeah, man, looking good. I did not think we'd be so quick to hit that goal. Oh, it's definitely beautiful. It's definitely beautiful, Olivia. In the country. In the country. Out in the sticks. Oh, great stream today, guys. Great stream. So many good questions, man. I appreciate it. We are 20 away from our tip goal. We're on a 197-day streak. We are so close to 200. I'll try to give you guys, I'll try to do more sneak peeks like that when it gets finished up out there. I forgot that I had posted those, so I was able to save it and show you guys. Ace, what's up, dude? I haven't seen you in a minute, a hot minute. How have you been? That roof that's going up out there now is like a lifetime. That'll last me a lifetime. That will last me a lifetime. I mean, there might come a point where it needs a little bit of maintenance or something, but for the most part, I'll be done. When the whole thing's finished and we get the other half, I'll be officially just done. No more roof issues for the rest of my time. How much for the other half? Well, this half was $7,000. The other half will probably be a little bit more because there's a little bit more to it, but I haven't got that far yet. Do you plan on living there forever? That's the goal. I mean, if I wasn't, I probably wouldn't even worry. I'd say, fuck the roof. Fuck the roof, I'm out. Which is what I was going to do at first. At first, I was just going to say, screw the roof, I'm out of here. But then I was like, you know what, maybe I can save this place. Because it's a really nice place, and I've been working on it on the inside quite a bit. So I was like, you know what, maybe I can save this place. And that's when I came to you guys, and we started the roof goal, and then we actually hit the roof goal. So yeah, it's looking like I might not have to walk away. That's twice. That's twice I was gonna walk away. The first time was when everything happened and everybody just started passing away, and I was like, I can't afford this place. And then we started Tip Goal, and I started doing this like full time, and you know, so I was able to keep it. I was like, okay, yeah, I can't afford this place. And then the second time I was gonna walk away was when the roof started to collapse. And then we pulled through. We pulled through. So we had a few close calls there. We had a few close calls, but I think it's safe to say that yeah, I got to work on the negative, fearful thinking. Dr. Claire Weeks called it second fear, but I call it negative thinking because it's the same thing. I call it negative thinking because it's the same thing. No, I've got some people to live with that live with me, but I am the bread bringer, you could say. So there's a lot on my shoulders, but it's all good. No, stay where you are. It looks beautiful. It is beautiful. It is. I mean, if you can get over the whole small town thing, which is not a problem for me, but I've never been bothered by the whole small town thing. The beauty is worth it. Yeah, so when I say, when I say the channel has really just changed my life, I mean, that's no understatement. Stay out of it is a good way to sum up this process. In your example, a couple stream back about fear of a heart attack opened my eyes as well. Yeah, dude. I mean, you just stick with it, right? You stick with it and you start to learn the advice until you hear what really clicks for you, right? Now, don't wait for the perfect moment, of course, to get started. But, if you continue to learn, you're going to hear things like that just kind of make sense to you. That's what we're here for. That's why we try to put it so many different ways. Can only get bigger and better as the channel grows. Absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, when everything first started to happen, I definitely was kind of in a mindset of, because back then, if you guys remember, we didn't even do tip goal. So back then it was like, okay, well, yeah, I definitely can't afford to stay here. Not without my grandfather and all this and that. So I was like, yeah, I definitely can't afford to stay here. We didn't even do tip goal back then, so it's kind of like, yeah, I can't do this. But we started tip goal, and as you guys can see, we've hit a 197-day streak on the tip goal. And then the roof situation happened, and we hit that goal. So it's kind of like, yeah, we did it. We managed it. But yeah, it would not be possible, of course, obviously, if it wasn't for you guys, so. What do we want for lunch today, guys? That's the question now. Stream is going to be winding down in just a minute. Subway? Subway actually does sound good. Do you have any advice for a type of inner voice to pair with fear of panic? I'm struggling to find the right attitude and take action. So don't get stuck in thinking that there's going to be like this perfect, magical, accepting inner voice, right? Sometimes that does happen. Sometimes people kind of assume that, and I understand that. But don't be thinking that you're going to find like the perfect accepting inner voice. In fact, I think it was you, right, who said this feeling is healing. What's going to make the difference is not finding the perfect words, but rather your ability and your self-responsibility and accountability to use those words, right? So people do get caught up in trying to find the perfect accepting inner voice when really they need to be more caught up in using the accepting inner voice. Does that make sense, Luis? I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So people do tend to get caught up in trying to find the perfect inner voice when really it's a matter of you should be more caught up in using the inner voice, just using it. And being consistent with that. I think that's a good way to put it. I myself included at one point, you know, trying to find the perfect inner voice. You guys are too sweet. Thank you. It does make sense. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, it's one of those situations where it's like you're not going to find the perfect words. It's just about not fueling the fire. So maybe the perfect words don't exist, but what does exist is your consistency with actually using the words, right? Because all they do is stop the fuel to the fire, right? The amygdala takes care of the rest. But oftentimes people will kind of abandon their practice of using the mental work because they don't feel 100% better right away. So that's really the thing there. It's you should be more concerned with your consistency than you should be concerned finding the perfect wording. I see a lot of people sort of abandon the practice because they're like, these words aren't working because I don't feel 100% better yet. Right? Well, the words aren't going to make you feel 100% better yet anyway. The amygdala does that in time. So, no problem, Luis. I hope that clarifies it for you. Pizza, ham and cheese. So many good suggestions. Yeah, you got it, Luis. You got it. So don't get too caught up on the wrong thing. Alright guys, we are going to be winding down the stream in just a bit. In just a minute, we have passed our 1 hour mark. We are 20 away from tip goal. I'll give it a few minutes. I'm going to go check on the roof progress. I'm really curious what's going on there now. It's been a few hours since I last checked. So we are going to be winding this down in a few minutes. We're 20 away from tip goal. I don't know what's going to happen. Fingers crossed. I can accept not feeling 100%. It's more struggling to see myself fully accept yet. Thank you, Wonder Bro. Your answer has helped. Yeah, you're probably too concerned on trying to find the right words when really it's just a matter of consistency, right? Practice. That's a good word. Practice. Dr. Claire Weeks loved the word practice, and she loved it for that reason. So don't get too caught up on trying to find the answers to the wrong questions. That's probably the best way you can word that. There we go. So I just posted, let's see. I'll try to get this post on the community. So yesterday's short, we did a short yesterday. I'm going to post that on the community. It was a really good one. I don't know how many of you guys actually check the community page, but tea and cones. Does that say tea and cones? Tea and scones? What is that? I don't know what that is. Thank you for the $5 tip. I appreciate you. We are 15 away, guys. 15 away. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you. Pandemonium, thank you, dude. Pandemonium, mission accomplished. Tip note says mission accomplished. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. That is broken tip goal, actually. We're at 198 day streak, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you beautiful people. Thank you, thank you. Hey, show some love in the chat, guys. Show some love. Let's get some purple hearts before we wrap it up here. Let's get some purple hearts. Purple hearts, purple hearts. Thank you so much, Pandemonium. Ooh, I just dropped my phone. Thank you, guys. We're on a 198 day streak. Thank you, thank you. We had a good stream today. A lot of good questions. A lot of good questions. I always appreciate the questions. And, of course, you guys just watching in general. Thank you so much. I'm gonna try to get more updates for you guys. That picture that you seen earlier of the roof, not 100% completed yet. So I'm gonna try to wait until they officially wrap the job up, and then we'll try to get more pictures for you guys. All right, I think we're good here. I'm not seeing any more questions. I think we're good. Thank you guys so much. Big stretch. Big stretch. Thank you guys so much for the tip goal, man. I appreciate you. Tip goal means a lot to me. Like I said, I couldn't do this without you guys. So thank you so much for the tip goal. And thank you so much for the support, man. All the excellent questions today. It was a really solid stream. This is one for the books. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. If you did enjoy today's stream, guys, make sure you leave it a big thumbs up. It really does affect the algorithm and help the channel grow. So thank you so much. We can reach more people that need the help. So I appreciate it. Thank you for everything. And until next time, as always, stay awesome.